Hello, this is me, Miss Gabe, your instructor. We will welcome to facilitating learner-centered teaching. And for today's topic, we will talk about the learner-centered teaching, its foundations and characteristic. By the way, I welcome you all in this teaching profession because I know you are human services and um, I will try my best to relate examples to your own knowledge kasi ito na mga topic is for teachers talaga or for becoming on how to become a teacher. This is just a preparation for them. So, this is an elective subject. So, it means that what if someday mag-change of hearts kayo at piliin nyo mag-enter sa teaching profession? Who knows, di ba? So, ito yung ginagawa namin dito or ito yung mga pinag-aaralan namin. These are just the basic. Okay? So, ngayon, we will talk about the learner-centered teaching, foundations, and characteristics. First is, let's define what is a teaching approach. Ano ba yung teaching approach? Meron kasi kaming tinatawag na teaching approaches. Yung teaching approaches is, ito yung mga theoretical positions and belief about teaching. Or ito yung mga paniniwala ng isang guro. Okay? Ano ba yung pinaniniwalaan niya? Naniniwala ba siya na mas importante na sa klase niya is mas importante yung mga bata, na may mga na-learn yung mga bata? Or meron namang mga teachers na mas importante sa kanila na ma-finish yung subject nila even if walang natutunan yung bata? That's reality. May mga teachers tayo na ganyan. And meron namang mga teachers na feeling nila sila yung superior or sila dapat yung pinaniniwalaan at hindi sila nakikinig or wala silang interest malaman kung ano yung opinion ng mga bata. So, iyon. May iba-iba kasing klase ng teacher. At nagdedepende yan sa beliefs niya, which is yung teaching approach niya. That's what we call it, teaching approach. Meron naman tayong tinatawag na teaching methods. Yung teaching methods naman is yung step-by-step process. Alam niyo ba yung mga guro ninyo, bago yan sila pumasok sa school, meron na yan silang learning. Meron na silang preparation. Okay, hindi yan sila pumapasok na hindi nila alam yung ginagawa nila. Hindi. Before sila pumasok sa klase ninyo, alam na nila kung ano yung gagawin. At alam na din nila kung ano ba yung outcome pagkatapos ng klase. Okay, ganun yan siya. At saka nakasulat yan sa lesson plan. That's our teaching method. Ibig sabihin, meron kaming step-by-step process na ginagawa. Ganun siya. Next is a teaching technique. A teaching technique is like the strategy of the teacher. Kung paano siya magturo. Alam nyo ba, may mga teacher, napansin nyo yan may mga teachers, may mga guro tayo, instructors tayo na kapag yung iba-iba yung style. Okay? May iba na nagpapa-reporting the whole duration of the class, yun yung ginagawa niya. Meron namang iba na parang ang dami-daming activities na binibigay kasi yun yung strategy niya. And merong iba na nagpapagawa ng reflection paper, nagpapa-storytelling, nagpapa-perform sa inyo, and etc. So, yung particular things na ginagawa ng teacher, that's his or her teaching strategy or the teaching technique. Okay? Yan siya. Merong pinagkakaiba ang teaching approach, teaching methods, at saka teaching strategy or techniques. Magkaiba yan sila tatlo. Okay? This is just an introduction para malaman nyo kung ano ba yun sila. Yung i-discuss natin ngayon ay about siya sa approaches. Ayan. Sa nakikita nyo sa picture, if nasa face-to-face pa tayo dito, ipapa-explain ko talaga ito sa inyo. Kung ano ba yung idea niya about yun sa picture. Well, hindi naman ito interactive video. This is a pre-recorded video, so I'll just tell you about it. The first picture and the second picture and the third and the fourth is basically means that traditional teaching. Okay? Isa yung thought sa picture na yan. Isa lang yung, kumbaga, 4 peaks, 1 world. Anong definition dyan? Is our traditional teaching. Way of teaching. Naalala nyo ba yung mga elementary days pa natin? or tsaka high school days, ganyan talaga yung scenario sa loob ng klase, di ba? Like, the teacher is discussing in front and then the students are just listening. They are passive recipient of, kumbaga, yung teacher is spoon feeding yung mga information and then yung mga bata is, ayun, nilalagay natin sa utak natin. Yun. Yun, ganun yung way of teaching before. Yung iba naman, yung teacher is nagsusulat sa board, tapos tayo ay nagka-copy. Ano ba yung reaction natin? Yung iba natutulog, yung iba nagchichismis, ganyan yung mga high school students eh. Pero dito sa college, wala na yan. Yung iba naman, may ginagawang iba, ganon, and etc. So, ganon yung scenario sa old style of teaching. Now, what I'm talking about is the teacher-centered approach. Ano nga yung sabi ko kanina? Approach is the belief or the why in your teaching. We will talk about teacher-centered approach. A teacher-centered approach is feeling dito ng teacher is siya lang yung reliable source ng information. Meaning, lahat ng information sa kanya nanggagaling. Okay? Next is teaching consists in teacher telling and prescribing what learners should do. Yung teacher naman, always giving direction on what the learners should do and what they are expected to do. Diba? You remember? Now, reflect on your teacher. Sino yung mga teachers mo na ganon? Diba meron tayong ganon na mga guro? They are the one who tells us what to do. And gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, learners are passive recipient or pag sinabi mo kasing passive, wala kang ginagawa, you're just receiving the information. So, that's teacher-centered approach. Kung may kilala kayo na teacher na ganyan yung style ng pagkakaturo niya sa inyo, so, maybe he or she is using teacher-centered approach. Next. Ayan. The 4 pictures here shows like question mark and then lesson planning, syllabus, and a child that is looking in his paper. Ay, ganun. Well, we are talking about a subject matter-centered approach. A subject matter-centered approach is subject matter gains primacy over the learners. Ang tandaan nyo lang dito is mas binibigyan ng importansya ng guro yung yung pagtapos ng lesson plan niya, not regardless if may natutunan ba yung estudyante niya o wala. As long as matapos niya lang yung dinidiscuss niya. Wala siyang pakialam kahit napakabilis niyang magsalita dyan as long as, kasi yung goal niya for that day is matapos niya yung lecture niya na yon. Even if, at the end of the day, wala namang natutunan yung estudyante niya. So, he or she is using subject matter-centered approach. By all means, teacher finish subject as scheduled even if the learners have not learned it. Have you reflect now? Or may naaalala ba kayong teachers nyo na ganito? So, ganun. And sticking to core syllabi is priority. Again, kapag ang teacher is, ang primary concern niya is to finish the subject on time regardless if the students learn something or not, then he or she is using subject matter centered approach. Next. Okay, there you go. Now the next one is a teacher dominated approach. Teacher-centered approach is different from teacher-dominated approach. Kasi sa teacher-centered approach, we are talking about the information. Yung information solely nanggagaling sa teacher. Dito naman sa teacher-dominated approach, it's different. It's the authority. Okay, we are talking about the authority. While sa teacher-centered, we are talking about the information. Dito sa teacher-dominated, we are talking about the authority. Teacher does what he or she planned without necessarily considering the learner's interest, concern, and situation. Teacher is the authority. Next, as you can see, the first picture is a blank slate, and then information like a man here is filling the empty bowl in the head of the child. Ganon. And then an ATM machine. Tapos, ayan, parang empty yung utak. Ano kaya yan? So the next approach is what I'm talking about is the banking approach. So itong banking approach masyadong interesting siya. Why? Because relatable. A banking approach is when a teacher deposits knowledge into the empty minds of students for students to commit to memory. It's like depositing a money. That's why meron tayong ATM machine kanina. Banking approach also happens during your examination. Yung one day before the exam or a night, worst is a night before your exam, you will study your notes. So when you study your notes, you read everything and then memorize everything and put it in mind, deposit in your in your mind. But then so that when the time comes that you need to use those things that you read, then meron kang mawi-withdraw. If wala kang binasa, then wala kang mawi-withdraw. Ganun yun siya. And then, pansinin nyo, after how many days, pag tanungin ka ulit nun ng mga tanong, hindi mo na maaalala ano yung isasagot mo. It's because, ganun nga yung nangyari. Banking system. Isa din sa nag-agree dito na approach is si John Locke. Kasi para kay John Locke, yung mind daw natin are empty receptacles or blank slate. Ibig sabihin, walang laman yung utak natin when we were born. Okay? And then, slowly, the people around us will deposit something in our mind. Or lahat ng mga experiences sa mga bata is malalagay siya sa mind nila. Ganon. Let's review the different approaches in teaching. First is teacher-centered. It's the teacher is the only reliable source of information. Siya yung superior ng merong knowledge or all-knowing sa klase. That's the teacher-centered approach. Next is subject matter-centered. The primary concern of the teacher is to finish the subject on time, regardless if the students have learned something or not. Next, teacher-dominated is ang authority is nasa teacher, and then banking approach, walang laman yung mga mind ng bata, and then the teacher will just deposit on it, and if magagamit nila during examination. So, yun yung mga approaches in teaching. Next, why do you think students get bored easily? Why? Maybe it's because of, you'll say to me, ma'am, because of the teacher factor. Ganun talaga yun teacher factor. Sinisisi sa teacher yung bakit wala kang natutunan. It's because of the teacher. Ganun yung nasa isip natin. But it's not just that. Okay? It's not just about the teacher factor. It's also about the technology. Why? Because we were born with it. Meron na yan siya yung naborn tayo. And we were get used that everything is instant. That's why if like this kind of discussion, well, I don't have a choice but to discuss because nga online tayo. Baka sabihin nyo, yung teacher namin hindi naman nagtuturo tapos nagpapa-quiz. Ganun yung nababasa ko sa mga reactions ng students now that we are using online. Hindi naman nagtuturo yan, bakit nagpapa-quiz? Ganun. So, I'm disregarding that idea from you. That's why I'm really explaining everything to the best of my ability. Ayun, again, let's go back. So, yun nga, technology is because we are used that everything is instant to the point that the information that we need to learn, we also want that to be madali lang natin maintindihan. Pag hindi na natin siya nagigets, kapag yung teacher nag-e-explain, naboboard na tayo. It's because, or di kaya, wala na tayong interest doon. It's partly because of the technology. Kasi nga, everything is instant. Even if isang click mo lang dyan, lalabas na lahat ng information na gusto mong malaman. So, ganun. We all know that change is inevitable. Diba? There is no constant thing on earth except change, as well as our educational system. So, di ba pinakita ko sa inyo kanina yung mga traditional approach in teaching. Yun sila, traditional approach in teaching yun. Yung mga teacher-centered, teacher-dominated, subject-centered, banking approach. Those were the old way of teaching. Now, my question is is our educational system needs to change? Well, yes, definitely. Our educational system needs to change too. Just like what is happening around us. Everything is unpredictable, everything is changing. And we need to go for the change. So hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na, bakit may K to 12? Bakit pinatupad yan siya? Bakit kailangan pang dagdagan ng taon yung paghihirap natin? Well, isa yan siya sa mga changes. And honestly speaking, kapag may change na nangyayari o pagbabagong nangyayari, napaka-negative ng pag-iisip natin. Like, hindi natin siya easily na a-accept na meron ng pagbabagong nangyayari. So, while in fact, that's why masyadong stagnant tayo. Nagiging stagnant tayo, it's because nire-resist natin yung change. Okay? While in fact, dapat kailangan natin siyang i-embrace. Kasi hindi naman pwede na doon na lang tayo sa old style teaching, nagbabago yung mundo. Iba na yung generation na tinuturuan ng mga teachers. The change that I'm talking about is the learner-centered teaching. What is learner-centered teaching? Ito na yung bago sa sistema natin ngayon. A learner-centered teaching means it's an approach that places the learner at the center of the learning. Ganito na yung nangyayari ngayon sa educational system natin. If you are not aware, well, ito na po yun siya. This means that the learner or students is responsible for learning while the teacher is responsible for facilitating the learning. This is also known as student-centered learning. Alam niyo ba ngayon sa educational system natin, hindi na solely yung teacher yung nagtuturo. Or hindi na lahat ng information nanggagaling sa guro. Hindi na po siya ganun ang nangyayari. Unlike before. Well, I'm not saying that yung old way of teaching is ineffective. Because, hello, we are also a product of traditional approach. Right? Our leaders and political leaders, religious leaders, and etc. are a product of traditional approach. So, hindi mo siya masasabi na ineffective siya. But what I'm saying is that we need to change our system. And this is the new change, the learner-centered teaching. It's putting the learners in the center of the learning process. Ibig sabihin, yung mga bata, yung mga estudyante, sila na yung nagli-learn on their own. Kagaya ng nangyayari ngayon. Hindi pa siya nagsisink in sa atin. Bakit yung mga teacher namin, binibigyan lang kami ng topic, tapos kami na yung magre-research noon. Ganun na po talaga ang way of teaching natin. Have you observed your other teachers, ganun yung ginagawa nila? Nagbibigay lang ng PowerPoint, tapos go na. Kayo na yung magre-research, ano ba yun sila? Research-based na kasi tayo. Kasi nga, nasa bagong generation na tayo. Nga, you are responsible for learning. Kagaya ngayon, meron kayong choice na manood ng video na ito or hindi. Am I right? And, ano ba yung risk kapag hindi ka nanood or hindi ka nakinig sa lecture ng teacher mo or hindi ka nag-research sa topic na inassign sa'yo? Meron niya siya mga consequences. Ang consequences niyan probably is hindi ka makakapasa sa exam, hindi ka makakapasa sa subject na to. Ang bigger consequence niyan ay hindi ka makakagraduate. Kapag hindi ka nakagraduate, meron ka bang makakapasok ka ba sa magandang trabaho? Hindi. So, ganun siya. You are responsible for your own learning. And then, ano na yung function ng teacher, ma'am? Wala na lang, nag-receive na lang sila ng salary, wala silang ginagawa. No. They will facilitate you. Okay? Hindi lang din na nagbibigay lang yung guro ng topic and then wala na. Ganun na lang. Hindi po ganon. Dapat, yung teacher is magfa-facilitate siya sa inyo. Ano ba yung dapat gawin? 'Di ba? Hindi lang yung, yes, bibigyan kayo ng topic, yes, kayo yung magre-research. Given that, you know what you will do because the teacher explains what you need, what are the things that you need to do, and how do you do that. So, yun. Ganun po yung nangyayari sa learner-centered teaching. Okay, the 5 characteristics of learner-centered teaching according to Weimer. First is, learner-centered teaching engages students in a hard work of learning. Why? Why do we need this? It's because noon kasi, lahat ng ginagawa, nasa teacher. Okay? Yung teacher yung mag-attendance, yung teacher ang maggrado, siya ang gagawa ng exam, siya ang gagawa ng topic, siya ang maglilinis ng classroom, siya ang, ano pa bang ginagawa ng teacher? Ang dami niyang ginagawa. And the fact that yung teacher yung gumagawa noon ng mga things na yon is that, ibig sabihin, siya lang din yung nakaka-learn sa experience na yon. So ngayon, iba na siya. Binibigay na yung ibang responsibilities sa students. So that the students will have the experience. Kasi nga, di ba, alam natin na yung experience with reflection is the best teacher. So, ganun. Binibigyan na natin ng chance yung students natin na sila din naman yung ma-engage doon sa mga experiences na yon. Like doing research, doing some projects, and etc. Performance, activities, mga ganon. Next is, learner-centered teaching includes explicit skill instruction. Kapag yung estudyante mismo yung gumagawa ng task, marami siyang skills na malalaman. Kagaya ng gagawin natin na reporting, kasi meron tayong reporting na gagawin. I know most of you will not go into teaching profession, but baka malay nyo, di ba? Gagawin nyo sa susunod. So, I will be training you how to explain things, how to teach digitally. So, kaya, bibigyan ko kayo ng reporting. Kasi sa reporting, siguro tinatamad ng si ma'am kaya nagpapareport siya. Hindi po. It's also an exposure for you of how to do things digitally. 'Di ba? Paano ba mag-record ng sarili? Paano ba ito gawin? Paano ba mag-explain sa harap ng camera na wala ka namang, yung sarili mo lang yung kinakausap mo? Una-una, masyado siyang awkward, pero kalaunan, masasanay ka rin. So, gusto kong ma-experience nyo din iyon. Kasi malay nyo, someday, magagamit yon. At isa yun sa magiging skills ninyo. Okay? Digital literacy skills. Kailangan nyo yan. Diba? Kapag gagawa kayo ng pre-recorded video, kasi, syempre, i-edit nyo yan. So, ganyan lang na simple things, meron kayong matututunan. Okay? Ang topic natin ay about learner-centered teaching. So, i-expect nyo talaga na maraming things na kayo mismo yung gagawa. And doon sa mga bagay na gagawin ninyo, meron kayong skills na matututunan. Next, learner-centered teaching encourages students to reflect on what they are learning and how they are learning it. Ito, useless yung mga tasks na ginagawa ninyo kung wala kayong learnings doon, wala kayong natututunan doon. How does that happen? Well, yung mga failures ninyo, yung mga maling nagagawa ninyo, it serves as your learning. Okay? Huwag kayong masaktan kapag kinorek kayo or may feedback na narinig nyo. Kasi it's part of learning. Yan yung sinasabi natin na reflect. Reflect on your own learning. Okay? So, ganon. Next is learner-centered teaching motivates students by giving them some control over learning process. Yes, you have all the control of your learning process. Yung learning process is yung proseso kung paano yun na-acquire na knowledge or paano yun na-acquire yun na information, like you research on the internet, you read books, you watch videos related to it, etc. So, you have the control to it. Kung gusto mong mas marami kang matutunan, then you will watch a lot of videos, or you will watch a lot of tutorials, or you will read a lot of books, informations, blogs, ganon. So, you have the control to it. If wala kang ginawa, then wala kang ma-learn. Ganon lang siya. Next, I think this is the last. Okay. The learner-centered teaching encourages collaboration. Ito din yung nangyayari sa learner-centered teaching. Hindi na lang siya individual work, kundi it's group work. Mostly, teamwork. Teamwork na yung nangyayari dito. And isa sa skills na nakukuha natin is yung mabuboost yung self-esteem natin, at saka, social skills natin. I hope you reach to the end of the video and meron kayong natutunan dito na video. Thanks for listening and have a nice day.